Hello, first and second grade. This is your Super Science Wednesday science lesson for April 14th, 2021. We will be doing Chapter 7, Lesson 2. The lesson is titled, What is the Water Cycle? We have some important vocabulary words here that we'll discuss. Please read them after me. Water vapor, evaporate, condense, water cycle, precipitation, hail. Get ready to learn. Why is water important to you? How have you used water today? Without water, you would not be able to live. Other animals and plants need water too. Think about rain and snow. What do you think water has to do with our weather? Water has three forms: liquid, solid, and gas. It changes form when heat is added or taken away. Try this. Why does water form on the outside of a glass filled with water? Put ice cubes inside a glass. Fill the glass with water and stir. Is the glass leaking? Talk with a partner about why the water formed on the glass. Talk about where the water came from. On page 269, we have a structured inquiry. The structured inquiry is called How Clouds Form. How can a model help you explain how clouds form? You may do this structured inquiry at home. We might do it in class this week if we have time. We'll see. Please turn to page 270. Water changes. If you could look down at Earth from space, it would look blue. That is because water covers much of Earth. Oceans, rivers, and lakes hold water. But you might be surprised to know that air holds water too. You cannot see it because it is in the form of a gas. Water in the form of a gas is water vapor. Have you ever left a bucket of water outside? It lasts until the sun's energy changes the water from a liquid to a gas. Some of the liquid water will evaporate or change into water vapor. Most liquids change into gas form when heated. This caption reads, You cannot see water vapor, but it is in the air. This puddle is evaporating. Some of the liquid water is turning into water vapor. So if we see a puddle on the ground, boys and girls, what this is telling us is when the puddle dries up and disappears, it's not that the water disappears and is no more. It is that the water on the pavement has turned into water vapor. That means the water has gone from being in a puddle on the ground and it has changed form into gas, which is water vapor. It's water in the air. We can't see it, but it is there. Let's read this scripture spotlight. It says, read Psalm 63:1. Compare the land described to the land photograph on this page. So look at this page, look at the land. And I will read from Psalm 63, verse 1. It says, Lord, you are my God. I long for you. My whole being thirsts for you, like a man in a dry and empty land. I have felt your presence in the sanctuary and have seen your power. Your loving kindness is better than life. So when it says my whole being thirsts for you, like a man in a dry and empty land, can you imagine? Have you ever felt hot and thirsty on a dry and sunny day? Here it looks fairly wet, doesn't it? Let's go to page 271. Exploralab, structured inquiry. What causes water to evaporate? Fill 2 flat, shallow pans with the same amount of water. Place one pan in the shade. Place the other pan in the sunshine. Which pan evaporated faster? And why do you think this happened? This would be a good prediction. Do you think water in a pan placed in the sunshine would dry up faster? Or water placed in a pan in the shade would evaporate faster or disappear? What do you think? That'd be a great thing to try at home. Remember when you filled a glass with water and ice? If you did. The air around the glass was cooler than the room's air. Cool air cannot hold as much water vapor as warm air. So some of the water vapor comes out of the air. The water vapor turns into liquid or condenses. That means like gathers. When water vapor is cooled, it condenses into a liquid. Faith connection. Water always follows God's natural laws. God's natural laws enable scientists to learn how, when, and why water changes form. Think about it. How is evaporation different from condensation? I'm listening. This man is exhaling on a cold day. That means breathing out. You can see his breath. The cloud is made of water vapor from his lungs that is condensing into tiny droplets that you can see in the cold air. Here's a beautiful picture on page 272 and 273 of the water cycle. Water moves in a cycle, boys and girls. A cycle means it goes around and around and around. Did you know that water has a cycle? Did you know that water is used over and over again? The water you use every day is thousands of years old. That means water is recycled. The moving of water from Earth's surface into the air and back again is the water cycle. Water in the water cycle must obey God's natural laws. Here we see the water cycle. Study the diagram. Let's read in order from 1, 2, 3, and 4. Notice number 1 here means this picture. Number 2 is this picture. Number 3 is this area. And number 4 is up here. So let's look at the picture or that part of the diagram as we read. So number 1, way up here, here we go. Let's start. Water drops and ice crystals in clouds become larger. Precipitation falls from the clouds. That means rain. Precipitation is a fancy word for rain. All right, number 2. Precipitation or rain falls to the ground and into some bodies of water. Some soaks into the soil. It is used by plants and animals. Number 3, that's this area. The sun warms water from lakes and streams, rivers, and oceans. Some of the warmed water evaporates as water vapor. Number 4, as the water vapor rises, it cools and condenses into tiny drops. These tiny drops and crystals of ice form the clouds. So we go from rain. The rain falls and it feeds plants and it falls into the ocean. The ocean water is warmed by the sun, and that means it evaporates or goes back up into the air. This air rises and it cools. As it rises higher and higher, it gets colder and colder, and that condenses into tiny drops, and those tiny drops form the clouds, which cause the rain to fall. Remember when we made a cloud? And when there's so much water in it, it finally does what? It rains. Once a cloud becomes too heavy with water, it starts to let it go, and we call that rain. Faith connection. God cares for us and knew we would need fresh water. He designed the water cycle so there would always be fresh water for people, plants, and animals on the land to use. The water cycle. The water cycle needs energy from the sun. So what does this cycle need? It needs the energy from this sun. The energy causes water on Earth's surface to evaporate. The water vapor condenses and then falls as precipitation. Precipitation is water that falls to Earth as rain, snow, sleet, or hail. Water moves over land to streams, lakes, and rivers and into oceans, and the cycle continues. Say precipitation. It goes down into the water. Then it evaporates and condenses and precipitates. And evaporates and condenses and precipitates and evaporates and condenses. Let's turn to page 274. Types of precipitation. All precipitation is water that falls from the sky. Rain is liquid water. Too much rain may cause flooding. Snow is made of tiny ice crystals. It falls from clouds when the air is cold. Heavy snow with high winds is a blizzard. Think about it. How are rain and snow alike? I'm listening. How are they the same? And how are they different? A drop of rain could freeze as it falls and form ice. Sleet is precipitation that is tiny pellets of ice. Hail is precipitation that falls as large pellets of ice. Hail forms when a pellet of ice grows in size as it is blown around inside a cloud. One of the largest hailstones found was nearly the size of a soccer ball. Hail may damage houses and cars. Here we have math and science. You could do that with mom and dad. And we have our Make a Connection and lesson review. You may do that at home with mom and dad if you would like to. Anything you do at home, we can share in class. I hope you have a great day. Thank you so much for reading with me. And we'll talk later this week about the water cycle.